story, and then I'll show you the video, okay? So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I warn you that the following video will have some disturbing content in it. If you are a person that's really not up for that, make sure you hit the video first, hit the like before you leave the video. Understand what I'm saying? So, all right, let's get into it. So the brutal beating of 43-year-old black inmate Robert Brooks by the prison guards, and I'm not going to say, see, I love how they want to throw black inmate, white prison guards. Okay, he was just an inmate, and they were prison guards, and it was wrong either damn way. So let's just, we don't have to play the race card on everything. Some shit's just wrong, and it's fine just being wrong. Like, we don't have to do, I don't know why they always do that. Black did this or white did. Look, he did some foul stuff, and that was foul. Doesn't matter what color they are. They just want you to feel a certain type of way. So anyway. So it's ignited outrage, renewed discussions about violence and racism in the American prison system. Brooks was serving a 12-year sentence for assault. He died the day after the incident on December 9th. Body camera footage shows guards punching, choking, and kicking him while he was handcuffed, defenseless, with audio off due to cameras being in standby mode, which is very convenient, right? So you got no audio from none of these officers, like 13 of them. Nobody had their audio on? Yeah, okay. I believe that one. I believe that 100%. New York Governor Kathy Hochul expressed her shock and condemned the actions, ordering the dismissal of 13 guards and a medical staff member who was involved. Preliminary autopsy indicates or suggests asphyxia due to neck compression. So he was choked, according to the autopsy. Now, I saw some level of choking in the video, but I'm going to let y'all see for yourself. There was a lot more than that going on. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this, guys.
New York City Harbor there in Lady Liberty. What I want to do now, because we heard from New York Attorney General Letitia James, also from Governor Kathy Hochul, James releasing footage from the investigation into the death of Robert Brooks here. I want to put this tweet up. This is from our colleague there at Fox 5 New York, Linda Schmidt, with body camera footage there.
Y'all see the video.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Upstate prisoner beaten to death. Correction officers' body cam videos were released today by Letitia James in the death of Robert Brooks at the Marcy Correctional Facility. And Hochul has issued a statement as well. It says 14 people will be fired over this. So this is an ongoing investigation into the death of Robert Brooks. He died December the 10th of this year after an encounter with New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision officers. This was at Marcy Correctional Facility in Marcy, New York. That's in Oneida County. Now, the day before, on December the 9th, Brooks was transferred from Mohawk Correctional Facility.
Now, I don't know if you guys can see in the back here where he's got this gentleman by the neck. XRP Zing, thanks for stopping in the chat. You are correct. It is a lot like a hotel. And if they're not making money, or if they're not having prisoners come and go, they're not making their money. And they got quotas to meet. Don't get it twisted. They got quotas. Every month. Just like rent. And them judges get kickbacks. And we already know this. So the question becomes, when they now have body cams, and we have an audio not recorded. So you know what that means? That means that all of these people can corroborate a story, and there's no audio to refute it. They can say that this man was violent beforehand. I've seen the entirety of the video, and it just kind of comes on, and he's already beat up, and then they just keep beating him up. So I'm trying to figure out what happened before, and then they literally took him out of the jail and took him over to the medical part and then beat him up again. So what started it was he got beat up in the pod or whatever, by them probably when they were doing their search, because they still haven't told us how he was even having to interact with them in the first place. Why were they going through all this with this guy? What did he do? You see what I'm saying? And they know for a fact that something got the goon squad there. They're not the COs that sit on the desk. So somebody calls them and they come in with reckless abandon and they start whooping ass, flipping mattresses. They do whatever the hell they want for a couple of minutes. It's like a police raid, but it's in a jail. And if you've ever seen somebody's house get raided by the police, they have no care about being nice or clean or respectful. So when the goon squad does that in the jail, it's the same exact thing, except these people are locked in to this little ass cell and this little ass jail where everything's made of concrete and metal. And if you get into it with one of the goon squad, you got like 8 dudes that's like 6'7", niggas be 350. I'm talking about they got the lats. These dudes be big. They wait all day. They got the sleeves rolled up. They can't wait till somebody pop off in the jail. They sit there all day in a little room drinking Red Bull and shit. Can't wait. So the second somebody called them about this guy, they probably came in all aggressive, and that's how he initially got beat up. But then they took him to say he already needed medical attention at that point. So let's take him to the medical pod. And that's the footage we're seeing, is the after effect. So he already got the ass whooping. That's how they got him in cuffs. Then they brought him to the doctor to say, hey, he's pretty messed up already, so he obviously needs a doctor, right? And then they beat him up in the doctor's office. Now, I'm going to be honest. There's a level of, once you get a person in some handcuffs, they are really kind of helpless. And if you got 3 or 4 fully grown ass men, we're not talking about little ass dudes either. These are big ass men. Most of them over 6 feet, over 200 pounds. So if you got 3 or 4 of those and a person in handcuffs, you would have to be freaking Debo in handcuffs to really be a threat to them 3 or 4 people. I'm just saying. So we'll let the video continue. But I really wish they had the first ass whooping. That's the one we need to know about. What started all that he had to be brought to medical in the first place? And then y'all kept whooping his ass in medical. But this is cattle. It's not a human. They weren't beating up a human. No, that's not a human at all. What are you talking about, right? What are you talking about, Haze? That's not a human. That's an inmate. You see what I'm saying, right?
Those are both in the same county, Oneida County, according to James. Brooks,
look at him. You see the video?
Handcuffed with his hands behind his back, was then taken into a medical examination room where the events captured in the video took place here. So remember, we want to bring you some of this body camera video. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's take some of that.
All right, so see, like I said, the video starts and they're already bringing him out.
By the office of New York Attorney General Tish James here. And so what you're watching right now is the moment
Thanks
in the
for
wake of
comments too, guys, and the likes. Y'all keep the likes going, man.
One facility to another here.
So they're already at the jail.
According to James, when he was transferred to this medical examination room, you're going to see it in just a moment.
Well, hurry up.
He was
speed this up.
Pronounced dead in the early morning hours of December 10th. But the action here, all right, we're going to watch it. Viewer discretion is advised. And there is Brooks there after being transferred from one facility to another.
All right,
we're going to see the action. It's very difficult to watch. It's graphic. Officers there appearing to beat Brooks there. All right, so if you're just joining us for this story, this is what we know. This body-worn camera released by Attorney General Tish James's office that appears to show members of the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision officers
probably just talk some trash to one of them guards and
beating Robert Brooks.
We're not talking about humans, so you can do whatever
Brooks
you want.
Was handcuffed with his hands behind his back. He was then taken to a medical examination room there, where the events captured in the video took place.
They took him to the doctor and whooped his ass in the doctor's office.
Brooks was then transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead in the early morning hours of December the 10th there. Now, Governor Hochul's office said 14 members
Where's
here
the
have been
threat
fired for
that's
their role
requiring
in this.
all
Also
of
getting
this
statements
action?
from elected leaders in New York. We're going to step away from this video. You're going to hear from James in just a second here. Let's put this
I
up.
don't want to hear from James.
So this is from State Senator of New York, Rob Ort. He says this: "I'm sickened by the brutal and senseless attack at Marcy Correctional Facility."
All right, I'm going to stop right there for a second, because here we go with the damn public statements about I'm upset about what happened at the facilities. This is what happens at these facilities. Everyone knows this. The difference is we're not used to and this is what I'm saying, Bruce Lee, why no audio? Out of all them officers, and there's multiple body cam views that I think they get into later in this particular video. There's multiple body cam views. None of them have audio. None of them have the first part where they apparently beat them up to the point that they needed to take them to the medical thing in the first place. Nobody's got any freaking evidence other than what we're seeing happen. And so we're making our own determination, and that leaves enough gray area for me to be like, well, maybe, you know, for the people that are 100% on law enforcement side at all times, it could be, well, maybe he attacked the officers and that they were trying to defend themselves, and that's how he got beat up in the first place. Who knows? And that's the problem. We don't know. What we do know is he got brought into a medical area. He already had his ass whooped. We also know he was handcuffed at that point. So where's the threat? Where's the threat? Where's the threat? That's all I'm saying. Prove the threat, and I'm gonna be like, cool, because I'm a firm believer in deserved ass whoopings. Anybody that knows me can tell you I'm a firm believer in, if you deserve an ass whooping, it should be promptly delivered to you, because it's a learning experience. So if he was in there beating up the officers and spitting on them and biting them and stuff, okay, the first ass whooping was definitely part of the deserved part. But the thing that happens in the medical piece, that's where it's like, why are they still whooping his ass? So let's continue. Hold on.
The footage is absolutely appalling, and these violent actions cannot be tolerated.
Yeah, okay.
While this incident will understandably outrage New Yorkers, it's important to recognize
Does it?
that this horrific
Does
event
it
does not
outrage
reflect
New
the dedicated
Yorkers?
service of the countless correction officers who risk their lives every day to maintain order and safety in our prisons. He says those responsible must be held fully accountable. There is
Who's
no excuse
responsible?
for this behavior. That's from New York State Senator.
It's a culture.
Rob
Who's
Ort.
responsible?
In the meantime here, let's play the original announcement today by New York State Attorney General
I
Letitia
don't want to
James.
see that crap. Hold on. Let's see if they actually show the other piece of it. No, they just show Letitia James talking about it. All right. That's fine. That's fine. Because it gets a little violent. They take him up into a corner. They start yanking him up by his whole situation. It's a lot to watch for anybody that's human and still considers people who are incarcerated to be humans. Where my whole issue is how are we supposed to change the view of how we look at inmates if the second a person has a record, they're already put on a different side of society. They get denied for housing, they get denied for jobs, they get denied for certain types of business loans because they can't get a regular job, so they're trying to start their own business, but they also get denied for the business loan. So they end up in that cycle. Some people get out. Okay? Some people get out. Some people go to jail. They have an epiphany. They find God or whatever it is. And they come out and it doesn't matter that people are trying to hold them back using their record as like a, carrot in front of them, right? Doesn't matter to some. A lot of people that went to jail don't go there with a nice high education or, a good support system. They're going there because they were in the streets doing street shit because they didn't have certain resources, and those resources are not amazingly appearing while they're locked up. So they went there with no resources. There's no educational programs available in these jails right now. I know the First Step Act was supposed to help with that. There's no institutional programs to help people with education, because I believe education is the number one problem. Uneducated people make stupid ass decisions because you're uneducated. A person that doesn't have information and is operating on poor or incomplete information is going to make poor or incomplete decisions. And ain't no two ways about that shit. So if you have a whole community of people who have been ostracized since 1865. And like I said, let's take the race piece out of it, because once you're an inmate, you all black, if you want to be honest. You all got to go do the same little 17 cents a day ass job. And just like Bruce Lee was saying, they had them fighting fires for $1.50 a day. You could die for $1.50. They don't view them as human. So when they whoop this dude's ass, somebody said, look, we got to take him over to medical. He's bleeding all over the floor. So they take him over to medical. And while he's in medical, they decide to continue this. So that's why I'm like, were they trying to search him for something that he had in his mouth? Like, what are we talking about here? Because once you're in cuffs and you're on the damn medical table, where's the threat? And all that happened to these officers was they were sent home from work. I don't believe there's been any criminal charges brought. So that's nice that Letitia James mentions it, but she's the damn AG. Where's the charges, AG? If you want people to think that you really care about their actual population, you saying you care, and it was appalling and all these other things. Well, where's the charges at? Because if I went somewhere and kick stomped some people and choked them out and did all that kind of stuff, I'd be sitting in the jail cell right now. I know I would. Body cam or no body cam, somebody could just say I did that shit. And if they look like they got beat up, they're coming to me with an arrest warrant immediately. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why this whole thing makes me laugh when I hear that whole, nobody's above the law. Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Because in that location, they could try to say, oh, we're dealing with killers and violent criminals all day. And this guy's he's, you know, watch if they bring up, let's say, he had a couple of tickets while he was locked up. And they'll try to make it, he's a problem. He's a problem inmate. That's why he got beat up. He was a problem inmate. Because the second they say a problem inmate, the human piece is taken away again. Talk about cattle. Remember? And I talk about people. It's cattle. And they view them as cattle. And they herded the cattle into the damn medical room and kept prodding the cattle. He had no value to them. He probably couldn't work because he was beat up. So we can't even have him in the kitchen tomorrow because we beat him up in the pod. T-Lock, thanks for jumping into the chat. So as I've seen and witnessed on my own, just like T-Lock is saying, he wanted medical, and they always say no. When you say you need medical, you can't breathe, whatever you say, the initial response is always negative. They are not trying to do that for one of two reasons. One, they don't want medical people to say, what the hell did you do to this guy? Because then you might get in trouble. And two, they still want to whoop your ass a little bit more. So they don't want to send you to the hospital. There's more ass whooping to go ahead and drop on this person. I don't want to take him over to medical because then I can't whoop his ass. I've been waiting all day in the little room with the other guys with the Red Bull. The goon squad has been waiting all day to whoop ass. It's a bad day to them when nobody's ass gets whooped, when nobody gets caught on the contraband, when nobody gets riled up in one of the pods or something like that, and they got to come break some shit up, and they go pepper spraying people and punching people in the chest and locking them up, and everybody got to get down on the ground, and they start pulling people up out of the pods and throwing them up into solitary confinement for 72 hours under suicide watch. That's their work day. So if that doesn't happen, they don't feel like they're working. It's cattle, guys. We're not talking about people. Just like Letitia James. Remember Paul, are you? Because ain't no criminal charges. And it wouldn't take no investigation for it to be me. If I kick stomp somebody in the chest while they're handcuffed in a doctor's office, by the time I got home, they'll be waiting at the door. You understand what I'm saying? The least I'd have to worry about is my job saying, oh, take the day off. No. But why release the body cam footage? Why do that? Why do that when you haven't pressed charges? So that we could just be mad you didn't press charges? I'm going to bring Letitia James back up. I'm going to bring her back up. Because now I want to hear the bullshit she's saying. Now I do actually want to hear what she's talking about. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's see what she talked about.
Correctional facility and was transferred to Marcy Correctional Facility on December 9th. During the incident, he was handcuffed with his hands behind his back.
Hold up, he was a transfer?
He was pronounced dead at Wynn Hospital in Utica on December 10th. I do not take lightly the release of this video, especially in the middle of the holiday season. But as Attorney General, I release these videos because I have a responsibility and duty to provide the Brooks family, their loved ones, and all New Yorkers with transparency and accountability.
Hold on, I don't like this. The whole thing is stinking. Smells a lot like some bullshit. It really does. It smells like some bullshit.
I smell bullshit.
Yep, it's some bullshit. So, guys, I think we need to listen to what Letitia James says. She released this video for accountability for the family and transparency, but there's no audio because everyone's cameras were in standby mode. Everyone. No cameras in the hallway. This is a jail. There's cameras everywhere. Just like New York. Just like they were talking about this. It's a police state. There's cameras everywhere. So how in the hell is there cameras everywhere, but the only thing you got is this no audio body cam footage that's blocked by wide-ass officers in that medical room? But I saw enough to see that nobody cared about Robert Brooks because he was cattle. And according to the Letitia James report, this guy was a transfer, meaning they were transferring him from a jail or a particular facility to another facility. So they were probably on some, we're going to whoop his ass on the way in just so he knows we don't get down like that at this new facility that he's being sent to. And they provided a little bit of hazing is what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. I don't know. I wasn't there. And with the audio being off, I'm kind of like, maybe Letitia James shouldn't have released this thing until they had more available evidence as to what actually happened. And Samantha, thanks for stopping in the chat. And you're 100% correct. He was born human. But none of those correctional officers were there when he was born. They were there when he was transferred as cattle. The same as people who were enslaved years ago, where it started. So if anybody that's just coming into the live, this entire thing started with a discussion about the black codes and how they changed things from slavery to inmate. So slave became inmate. The same jobs that a slave was allowed to do, an inmate was supposed to do. So the inmate was always looked at the same as the slave, which was not human. And so that same idea has just permeated throughout a couple, 150 years or so, and here we are. So these COs are not going to see Robert as human because the person before them didn't see the person before them's Robert as human, and so on and so forth, and keep going back. It didn't start that way, so it's not going to be that way right now. And until we as the public see Robert as human, which I think some folks are, there's not going to be a change. Why? Because it's a culture. This isn't just a bad decision. That's why there's 13 people standing around. That's a culture right there. That's not a bad actor. You understand what I'm saying? A bad actor would be like one guy and then there's another guy. Hey, stop that. Don't do that. That's a bad actor. This is a culture. This is a culture of treatment within these facilities that we have found to be acceptable. Being locked up is acceptable. Being treated like cattle is acceptable. If you ever see how they get inmates from one place to the next, it's very much like cattle. You got to line them up. You got the one guy in the front, one guy in the back, kind of keeping everything together. Kind of like a prairie dog, you know what I'm saying? But it's just a person. And normally that person is one of the inmates that kind of keeps the other inmates in line because they respect them because they all in there together. It's a whole process, a whole mind screw that they do to people that are in there. Because at the end of the day, when they get beat up by these officers and they go to fill out the paperwork, the person doing the investigation works with the same officers they're pressing the charges on. So that's why we don't hear about this. Honestly, I think people get their ass whooped in jail way more than people do on the street. Like police encounters on the street and people getting hurt with police brutality or whatever on the street, that's pales in comparison to what happens behind them jail cells. They'll put you up in a room that nobody can see, and they'll call the goon squad on you. And it might have been because you said some goofy shit to one of the female COs, and one of the male COs has a crush on her, or that's his girl or whatever, and they want to pay you back for that. You are not safe in jail. Jail, prison, either one, honestly. Behind bars, incarcerated, you pick it. I don't give a damn. I know there's going to be some real ones out there. Well, you ain't served 15 years. You ain't do no time. I'm going to tell you what. I've seen people go in and spend a year and be totally different when they come out. Totally different. Some good, some bad. Some people go in there and have they get their shit together. Other people go in there and get worse. Then they come out, they don't have nothing. They want to go back because it's more comfortable. They get food. They got a place to sleep. If they don't have anywhere to go when they get out, jail is being locked up is way more comfortable. So Robert Brooks was a transfer. They were showing him the culture of this facility is we will whoop your ass and take you over to the medical spot and whoop your ass at the medical spot too. He's a transfer. Remember, I said it looked like a search issue. Transfers are normally the ones that bring in new drugs. When you get transferred from one spot to another spot, or when an inmate gets transferred from one spot to another spot, it's a normalcy that they will bring things with them that they're not supposed to bring. So they normally get searched pretty intensively, you know, butt naked, butt crack open type searched, right? That happens every time somebody's transferred. No problems there. That's what they have to do to try to make sure nobody's bringing in weapons and all that. Okay. If you do not consent correctly to the search, this is not street police. If you do not consent to the search or you resist that search, they have the right, at least behind those walls, to whoop your ass because you're now seen as a possible threat. And anything that's a possible threat when incarcerated is not looked at as a human threat. It's like an animal. Like if a bear is coming at you, you're not going to be like, hey, bear, stop, and try to talk to it. You're going to shoot the shit out that bear, right? That's how they treat an inmate. This is not a person. This is cattle. This is an animal. Animals don't listen to instruction. They listen to violence. They listen to, you know, getting shot or getting tackled or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So you're not going to have a rational conversation with inmates if you're a CO. Because they are trained in a culture that the inmates are not people. And they do that because they don't want the COs to develop feelings for the inmates and start being soft on them and basically get themselves set up. So it's like you need to draw the line for safety reasons. But when the time comes that the human switch has to come on, you got to know where it's located and flip that motherfucker. And these officers could not do so. They just couldn't. So I'll let Letitia James say her piece, but I feel like she's missing something here. She said she released the whole thing, and it's like, why did you release it? You didn't press no charges. At least, what was the lady in Baltimore, Marilyn Mosby? At least she pressed some charges. Now, none of it stuck, and it was total career suicide, but I had respect for the fact that she brought the charges. And that's probably why Letitia James didn't do that. She's already under fire for some stuff with Trump, so she's just putting it out there. So we can just be mad about seeing something that goes on every day in the jail that nobody outside is able to do anything about. And that's it. That's really what she wants us to do. Just be mad. Y'all can't do shit. You can't. What you going to do? What, you going to go up to Marcy yourself? They won't even let you in. They won't even tell you who to talk to. There's no HR. Samantha, the medical staff was on site. They were in the room. That's why one of them got fired as well. They were on site. Watching it, laughing. Appreciate the contribution, Sabrina. Appreciate that contribution right there. So give me a second here. I really, I'm upset with Letitia James because I'm wondering, like, why did she release this if she wasn't really doing nothing with it? Like, all right, so the guys got fired. Well, that was a internal HR thing for them, like the company. That wasn't the AG that fired them. So she ain't doing shit. That's what it sounds like.
My deepest condolences go out to Mr. Brooks's family.
That's cool. You got
Under New
money?
York law, my office investigates every case in which an officer of the law, including a correctional officer, may have caused the death of a civilian.
Okay.
On December 16th, my office announced that it had opened an investigation into Mr. Brooks's death.
Okay.
As in every case, the attorneys and investigators in my office are conducting an exhaustive review of the facts and the evidence. As Attorney General, you have my word that we will use every possible tool available to us to investigate this death thoroughly and swiftly. As part of the investigation, my office obtained video from body-worn cameras that 4 of the correction officers were wearing at the time of the incident. The 4 officers had their body-worn cameras powered on, but did not activate them.
Which is
So
a
their cameras were
policy
recording video
violation.
in standby
Culture
mode
issue.
without recording sound. My team met with Mr.
4
Brooks's
people
family
doing
earlier
the
this
same
week.
thing? Yeah, okay.
reviewed
That
the
was an
footage.
accident.
These videos are shocking and disturbing, and I advise all to take appropriate care before choosing to watch them. We are releasing 8 videos today from 4 officers' body-worn cameras. 4 videos, one from each officer, that each run for the full 30 minute length of the standby
I'm
mode
going to have to
recording.
check that out because I
And the
didn't see
second
none of
version
that.
of the same 4 videos, which have been cropped to show only footage involving Mr. Brooks and the interactions between the officers
Cropped,
and Mr. Brooks.
redacted, audio
Again,
mutes. This shit
I
stinks.
encourage taking caution before viewing. I want to reiterate that we are investigating this case thoroughly and using every tool at our disposal
She looks like
to
she's
ensure
AI
that there is
generated.
transparency and accountability for the
She
events
doesn't even look like a real
that preceded
person.
Mr. Brooks's death. I also want to make clear that this video and the conduct of these officers should not reflect poorly on the work and professionalism of the countless correction officers and correctional facility nurses throughout the state who go to work every day to protect and serve those in their care. And now we will play the 4 cropped videos I mentioned earlier. And all 8
That's
videos
not-
will be
I got to
All right,
find the
so
clip
that-
then. I'll find that. Give me 1 second. I'll give you a little more because I want you to see when they grabbed him up into the corner. But it's very simple. Like you're saying over here, T-Lot, the camera's on. You got 4 people. Now, I've seen the cameras on the regular street officers. You get like 30 to 60 seconds of no audio. It's like quiet for a second. And then all of a sudden, it'll come on and the audio's on pretty much until they do something. They press a button, like on their chest, and it like mutes it. They can mute it, but it doesn't necessarily get rid of everything. In this case, they got nothing. They got nothing. They got absolutely nothing. That is, to me, that's a policy issue. You see what I'm saying? That's a policy issue. So here we go. Let me show you the picture of all of the folks that they had in the room here. So these are all the cops that were apparently present for this situation. Police, medical. The guy in the top right, that's the medical dude, smirking. These guys, some of them had to be transport guys. I'm not sure who were the transport guys. We got these guys over here. We got this weird looking lady over here on the left. We got this guy in the middle here with the brown hoodie on. He was laughing the whole time like he thought the whole thing was funny. You got the guy in the lower right here. I mean, it's like there was a lot of people there, and not one of them said, hey, guys, take it easy. You see what I'm saying? You know why? It's cattle. That's why it was funny. It's cattle. Now, I did notice, and I know this is what they like to thrive on, and I got to be honest about it. There's no black faces in them pictures. So it does have a scent of racism in it. A little scent. Just a little bit. But we don't know if some people are racist or they just don't care about other people. That doesn't necessarily mean you're racist. The only way to really test that is to have them do the same thing to somebody of another race to see if they come in and stop it. And nobody has time to do that. But the hashtag justice for Robert Brooks is Oh, this is. Let me see here. We got a couple of. I'm gonna pull up the other video. It's a little piece of it that y'all probably didn't see in the other one. Just trying to give full scope. 4 cameras, no audio. Each camera had 30 minutes of video on it. Now they're just showing, you know, the meat, but each camera had 30 minutes of video on it, and that's all we got with some audio and this guy getting his butt kicked. What were they saying while he was whooping ass? Was there statements? You can't come around here with that, or you in Marcy now, son, or something like that? And that's true. Why have a mute function on anybody's audio for a body cam? Bruce Lee, you're asking a great question, sir. You're asking a great question. Like I said, these are policy issues, regulation issues. So we've got 3 different things here. We got regulation issues, but the regulation issues come down to that word I keep bringing up, culture. It's a culture. That's why you got 13 people standing around smiling. And you're right. Nobody's calling it a murder. And yeah, I said the M word on YouTube because that's what we're talking about. So I'll let you see this other minute 44. And like I said in the previous video, this is graphic. And if you're not with the graphic, go ahead and go away for about 2 minutes and come back. Make sure you hit the like first, though. So there's no audio, guys. I apologize, but you can blame Letitia James and her lack of policy up in New York. So you see them doing, this is yes, they're beating the crap out of this guy in the top corner here. He's handcuffed, hands around his throat. You see this shit? Then this guy's beating him with a shoe. And he's slamming him around over here. I guess to them, they're trying to get him on the medical table. But just pull him up there. Then this guy gets to stomping on him. You see this shit? All right, you know what? Not one media outlet has called it a murder. They call it an inmate death or some kind of surface sound. Not he was murdered by these officers. Cause of death was asphyxiation. Now you see they done took his pants off of him. You see this guy, watch how he yank him up. You see what I'm saying? Trash. Cattle. Cattle. You see that? Cattle. They treated him like cattle. Now he don't even have he's barely breathing. Now the medical guy wants to come in and check on him after they watched him whoop his ass for like 20 minutes. Yeah, okay. No, I'm not going to watch it again. And PBS does have the full footage. Like I said, it's like 2 hours worth of video, but it's all the same thing, just from different angles. And I can't watch a dude get his ass whooped from different angles repeatedly like that. Once I take it all in, pause. Once I get the full scope, I got to remind myself, and you guys should remind yourselves, that these images that we see are planted in our brains to desensitize us to shit as it happens in the future. That's why people were not really tripping about Luigi Mangione. We done seen, what's that? So what? Somebody got dropped in the middle of the street in Manhattan at 7 in the morning. He worked for UHC. No human element there. So now we have our inmates, which are, of course, cattle. 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 And I know I'm making somebody mad because they're going to come into this live late. And when they come into the joint late, they're going to hear me talking about inmates or cattle. But what I'm saying is that's the culture of the correctional facility. And the people that work there, is that the inmates are not people. And the reason why they do that is because they don't want the correctional officers to connect with people emotionally, like on the human level, because then they won't be hard on them as inmates. So this is not by accident, y'all. That's the culture. So if you change the culture of the CO, and all of a sudden they're trying to be nice and shit, and one of them gets killed, then that's going to be a problem. So it becomes this slippery ass slope. It's like, okay, how nice are you going to be to somebody that's incarcerated for the next 25 years because they put somebody's torso in the fridge? Like, I can't see myself being a real nice guy making friends with that guy. But that's the problem, is they want them to be on edge. They want them to be upset, and they want them to be looking for a reason to whoop ass. And I feel bad for Robert, because at this point, like I said, the guy was just being transferred. He wasn't even already like in that general population of that jail. It's like as soon as he got there, they were like, we're going to show you how we do it at Marcy, bro. This is how we get down. If you don't let us search you the right way, we will beat the shit out you and take you into the damn medical place and then whoop your ass and let the doctor come and check your pulse when we're done with you. Cattle. And thanks for the subscribes, guys. I really appreciate that. I'm getting ready to get out of here in a couple of minutes because I do have some stuff to do. I want to spend some time with the wife today, first day of the year. And, but I just really, I want to get started this year because we're really going to start going into the whole fair chance and what's really happening with people once you put the stigma on them of having a conviction. This guy's a convicted something. That's why he's at the jail. And because he's that, he's being treated in jail like society is probably going to treat him if he would have ever made it out. This is the like physical, what do they call it? Manifestation. There you go. The physical manifestation of what it's like to live in society with a record. You got a bunch of people putting their foot on your chest. You got a bunch of people whooping your ass, punching you in everything that they can. Meanwhile, you're handcuffed by your conviction, and you're really not even a threat. They just want you to be a threat because at the end of the day, you're just cattle inside them walls, and once you get out, that's why you have a probation system. That's just cattle that gets to graze out a little bit further. That's all that is. When you got probation and parole, that's cattle that gets to walk a little further out into the field. But you still got to come back if they want you. And they got this guy in the corner. You see what's going on. Like I said, it's a lot in the video, but at the end of the day, the next day, that guy was no longer with us. Nobody's shut down Marcy Correctional Facility. That's not happening. And I'm going to say this. We want to really be mindful of cameras, okay? And I don't mean be mindful of the fact that they're there. I say it every time. I've said it before. And anybody that's new to the channel, thank you for being new to the channel. But I've stated this before. Camera is a witness, not a protector. That's all it is. It's just a witness. It can't protect you from the thing that it's going to witness. So although in hindsight you can look at footage and stuff like that, we need to protect beforehand so that we don't need the cameras to always just be a witness. I don't know, man. It's tough for me to ingest because I've been in some of those spaces and I've seen some injustices. I've seen some things be done to people that even if you told somebody, nobody was listening. They didn't care because you're just cattle. That's it. You get milked for your little bit of energy so you can go basically serve the other inmates, go work in the kitchen or whatever, clean the place so they don't have to hire a cleaning staff or get the inmates to clean the place. In areas that they don't even go into. They're just going to clean this place for 17 cents a day. And then we're going to get them in trouble for not paying their child support that they had before they got locked up because they're only making 17 cents a day, but the child support amount that they're supposed to pay is $1,000 a month. So they're going to go into the hole. So when they come out on their, let's just say 6 months, right? There's $6,000 in the hole on child support and they get to come right back to jail. And don't let them be on probation when they come out. Because now they're going to back up the time for not paying the child support they couldn't pay while they was in jail. You hear how crazy that sounds, right? It's crazy, but it's real. Brix, thanks for stopping in the chat, man. I wanted to throw you on here, but I had this thing with Zoom where if I didn't have somebody on fast enough, it was going to cut me off. So probably on tomorrow's show, because I got some other stuff. It's just I had to, this thing's been hitting my timeline all day, so I had to at least say my piece about the fact that we're not looking at a human, or at least they weren't. And that's the problem. It's not just that the officers beat this person up. It's the fact that to them, it wasn't a person they were beating up. And that's a culture problem. That is not a job issue. That's not an HR report. That's not an EEOC issue. That's not a fair chance hiring issue. That's not a First Step Act issue. That's none of that. That is literally the culture. And we did that. We put that on people for being locked up. That's why a person can have a little minor charge and can't go work at the damn supermarket. It's a whole stigma. The person might have a charge that's not even related to being at a supermarket. You see what I'm saying? But because of some charge, now they're not looked at as regular people. Now they're cattle. Do I need you bad enough to pull this hoe that I'm willing to put aside that stigma and then pay you less because you have that stigma, and then treat you like shit on the outside because you have that stigma? And then if you buck, I can call the police. You got 3 strikes. You go back. You can't do nothing to me. Cattle. Freaking cattle, man. Now I'm going to take you into another piece of this just really quickly before I get out of here. But if you've anybody, like I said, I know my viewers, y'all are all clean records, never been inside of a jail cell or prison or done any time like that. So let me help you understand, you know, 'cause I'm not talking about y'all. Most people in the prison system, when they first get there, and I'm not even gonna say most people, everybody that goes in, when they first get in there, they go through like a medical clearance, right? In that medical clearance, they disclose information about any conditions they may have. Diabetes, you got whatever issues you have. You're allergic to peanuts. You go through this medical thing, right? And then after the medical thing, they take them to see like a psychiatrist, right? And notice I said psychiatrist, not psychologist. The psychologist is the one you talk to. The psychiatrist is a drug dealer. So the psychiatrist takes the information that they gave to the first person, and then comes up with what medical regimen are we going to put this person on immediately, without even having their actual medical records from like a hospital or anything. You could go in there and say, I have an issue with, let's just say, I have a heroin problem. Right? I don't, but I'm just saying you can go in there and say you have a heroin problem. They're going to recommend certain drugs to help you with withdrawals, and then they're going to put you on the synthetic state-sponsored heroin program so you can be stuck on methadone or something that's more of a synthetic version of that while you're in the jail. And then that causes additional health issues, and so that you need additional medicines that they give you every day. 2 or 3 times a day. You should see the medical line in a prison. When the medicines come around, it's like fucking Christmas in there. People are trading medicines and all types of stuff, but the point is that medicine ain't free. Somebody's paying for that. So they're recommending that they put you on a drug program the moment you get there. Then they transfer that program around with you. If you get transferred to another facility, they'll put you right back on the same drugs. And if you come up with something else you feel like you got going on, they'll prescribe you some new shit. Or if you say, hey, that other thing you gave isn't doing anything, they'll give you a higher dosage without really talking to a medical doctor. And they have 90%, I would say roughly 90% of inmates are on a daily drug regimen provided by some major drug company that's partnered with these private institutions to keep you addicted to a drug. And then once you get out, whatever that time is, you now have to go fill that prescription somewhere in order to keep that going. So they hook you into some shit and then put you back out on the street and say, you better keep taking that or you're going to die. In addition to that, the food that they serve to people either makes them real fat or real skinny. There's no maintenance in the body. They give you a bunch of starches, carbohydrates, shit like that, giving you diabetes and stuff while you're in jail. You came in there, you didn't have diabetes. By the time you leave, you got diabetes and shit. And now you got to be on metformin and all types of stuff. So the jail, prison, whatever, has made their money off of you being there. They got your free labor thing. They made money off of the medicines that they prescribed to you, that they made you take every single day. And if you do not get up out your bunk to take that medicine, the CO will come get you and make you sign a waiver to say, I don't want to take medicine this day. Then certain medicines, they give them to people and you got to watch you swallow them because they don't want you to give them to the other inmates because there's a whole drug trade that happens in there. So there's a whole culture in that system of money being handed over from this thing to that thing. Then you come out, then you go into the probation and parole program. How do you think that gets paid for? The inmates pay for the program. So you come out of jail or prison on probation or parole, and you have to pay a certain amount of money to be on that program, but you didn't come out with a damn job, and they want that money the first month you out. And if you don't pay that money, guess what they do? Violate the probation and send your ass back to jail. Cattle, yo. Come on. Come on. You got it, Dennis. You see how it works, right? It's very simple. Cattle. What do they do to cattle? They give it all types of steroids and stuff to make the milk do certain things and whatever, and they got to keep the cattle a certain way because now the population wants their cattle to be like that. We want the steaks to be that big. And now that the steaks is that big, you can't go back to smaller ones. You got to make them bigger. Cattle. So, for our inmate population, who, like I said, I know our viewers here on Purge the BS, oh no, nothing but clean records here. No one has any experience with anything when it comes to jails, prisons, penitentiaries, or anything of the like. Now, I will say some of the viewers that I have on here definitely have been in places that deal with mental issues. I'll say that. We definitely got some mental issues, but if you're watching this in real time on the news, they got 8 different camera angles of this man getting his ass whooped. It desensitizes you after a while. They shoved a napkin in his mouth, or a sock or something in the guy's mouth. What do you do that for? Yo, that's crazy. But like I said, for my viewers here that came into the Purge of BS, thank you guys for joining me because I know you've never seen the inside of anybody's jail. But inside of there is hell. And inside of that hell, there's some people that work in hell. They work in hell every day. They hate it. Just like you hate your desk job at the freaking bank, they hate their job at the jail. And the goon squad only likes their job when they whoop somebody's ass. So this was the goon squad that did this. This wasn't the regular on-post COs. And I'll be honest with you, 90% of the goon squad is male. That's why it jumps out at you. A lot of the COs in the prisons and stuff are women, the ones that just sit at the desk. They're women. So that way, if an inmate says something disrespectful, the goon squad can come in and go crazy because they basically said something to a woman. So it's easy to justify, yeah, we whooped his ass because he made this woman feel uncomfortable. So that's why they do that. The females in there are there as a setup. But a lot of times, they get attracted to the inmates. You spend 8 hours a day, 40-plus hours a week locked in with the same 20, 30 people. And not everybody that gets locked up is ugly, you know, and some of these ladies don't really have no life outside of the jail. They be at the club or whatever, you know, but they just, and they know that they can get somebody to do something for them and a dude in jail will knock a CO's back out because he ain't getting it like that. You see what I'm saying? A dude in jail will change her life. I'm just being real. So because of that, the goon squad is most always guys, because guys can just tune out and just, you're not even human. We're gonna beat the shit out you because that's what our job is. So here's the real question, and this is where I'm going to close out this video. Is America ready to have the conversation about prison reform, or are we just get up in arms because we can see this no audio ass video? Because none of this is new. That's why I took it back to the black codes. That's why I took it back to the crime bill. That's why I took it back to the First Step Act. This is already an existing culture, guys. So we don't need to sit here and be mad about it. We need to figure out, are we actually going to fucking talk about it? Because if not, we're just going to have to keep watching these damn videos come across the timeline, watching some people get beat like cattle, and say nothing. Say nothing. Pay some commissary, put some money on somebody's books. That's the best we going to do. Ain't nobody going to do shit. BLM will probably show up. New York State will probably pay this guy's family a little bit of money, but that doesn't change the fact that these people are viewed as cattle. It doesn't change anything. Nothing. So as a matter of fact, I done spent all this time on here and nothing's going to happen other than the fact that we see it. But anybody going down to Marcy? Anybody stopping by? Anybody out front right now protesting? And even if they are, what's that going to change? You got some signs. Great. Thanks for your signs outside. This shit starts at a much higher level. This is legislative issues, regulations. These are government level changes that would have to be made. The jails being run by, and prisons being run by private entities is a problem. They should be run by the states that they're in. They should have to follow federal fucking regulations. But nobody's going to go in there and say anything. We're just going to sit around here and watch people get their ass whooped on camera. That's tough to swallow. Pause. That's a tough one to swallow, guys. Kind of hurt to think about. There's nothing we're not going to be able to do anything about that. We can talk about it like we're doing. And I appreciate y'all for coming into the chat and talking about it with me. And all the new subscribers, thank y'all for subscribing and having this conversation. But is this where it stops? I don't know. I think this is where it stops. I think, and you know what? This is true. And thanks for your contribution, Sabrina. I appreciate that. I really do. We do have to allow the family to have their time. But the family's going to get paid. They pay out families all the time. They've been paying people all the time for shit like this. We just don't get to see the body cam footage. But they're constantly paying out on these litigations because they know it's not right. But the problem is it's a culture. So we're not going to change the culture. We'll just pay when we get caught. We'll just pay a couple hours whenever somebody gets mad and they get up in arms, because the family's not going to say much if they get that money. Because you know what comes along with that money, right? Shh. Gag order. Don't say shit. We'll give you $17 million or whatever they feel the value of Robert Brooks's life is at that time, and you can't say nothing. Don't come out there trying to get the people to hit the streets and protest. Don't do nothing. And I don't know if anybody's seen it. I haven't seen the family make a statement. I've only seen the like protesters, people that are jumping on the cars, and the news. But honestly, you're right. I haven't seen the family say anything, and that to me is disturbing, because that means they done already got to him. Because I'll be damned if my family member was Robert Brooks. I'll be the first one on this internet, loud and clear, letting people know what's really going on. So his family's already paid off, and then we're just here with the selective outrage and desensitized to these images, because now I can watch somebody get choked out, punched out, stepped on, all while in handcuffs, bloodied, in front of a bunch of people laughing, and I'm only upset because nobody is really talking about the culture that we created that. We voted those laws into place. Those laws got voted in. And now we're here. So to the family of Robert Brooks, I'm hoping that they get justice, but there's no justice because Robert Brooks is not coming back. I don't know what kind of guy Robert Brooks was. And I know that comes up later. Everybody's like, well, he was a convicted criminal and he was this, he was that. He may have been. He may have been. But he didn't deserve to die like that. To be treated like trash and just basically thrown in the trash can. To the point where even the medical people that were there who can obviously see that the man was in distress, they didn't even care. They were laughing and joking. That was somebody's son.